If you're hoping for a video of pretty fish or cranky crabs, this episode's going to be a bit of a disappointment. So it was a beautiful, extra long spring weekend with temperatures in the mid-20s and sunshine every day except the day that we decided to go to Chilliwack Lake, when it was cloudy, rainy, freezing cold, and at least one of my dive watches said the water was 2 degrees centigrade. The other one was a bit more cheery, it said 5 degrees centigrade, but either way, it was freakishly cold. But it's a 2-hour drive from Coquitlam out to Chilliwack Lake, and I wasn't going to be deterred. I was going to go diving. So I jumped in at the boat launch there in Chilliwack Lake and immediately headed towards the outfall into Chilliwack River, swimming double time the whole way, just trying to warm up. It's sort of a general maxim underwater that most life will be found where there's a bit of current. And in a lake like Chilliwack Lake, which really doesn't have a lot of life in it, the two places where you're going to find such currents are where Chilliwack River runs into the lake and where the lake falls out into Chilliwack River on its way down to the ocean. And that's basically where I was headed for. I've dove this spot many times in the past, and it's always a reliable spot to see large schools of fish of various species, including suckers, juvenile salmon, and sometimes one can see trout and even spawning salmon near there. What I've observed in lakes around British Columbia is that the bottom, near an outfall into a major river, will be full of dead timber. And Chilliwack Lake is no exception to this. There's basically a complete drowned forest there. Diving in this drowned forest proved a bit creepy. It's dark. There's lots of limbs and trees sticking every which way. And to make matters worse, a ton of fishing line and cords have gotten caught up in the trees, and I really didn't want to get tangled up in anything like that. So I made a few dives, maybe 4 actually, through the forest there, and I didn't see a single fish. So I decided it wasn't worth pursuing this, and thought maybe if I descended the river a little bit, I might find something. But as I descended the river, I realized there was a restriction. A sort of a gravel bar was sticking out into the river on one side, and a very large log was sticking out on the other. And definitely this restriction was going to create some significant current. So the ideal thing to get by this restriction was just to walk over the gravel bar. But wearing carbon fiber fins, that was out of the question. I would have to take them off. And to take them off would be no problem, but getting them back on would require me to take my gloves off. And I may have mentioned earlier in this video that the water was 2 degrees. Okay, maybe 5 degrees, but the point is it was freakishly cold. And I did not want to take my gloves off to put my fins back on. So, after looking at the river a little bit, I decided it wasn't for me to try and go any farther downstream in it, and figured it was time to head back. There was a bit of current here at the mouth of the river, but fortunately all my morning sprints had prepared me, and I could easily swim against that current and make my way back out into the lake. So the dive this weekend was just an exercise in bad timing. Bad timing on the weather, and bad timing on seeing any fish out by the outfall to the river. But a nice hot cup of tea would definitely not be mistimed at this point.